Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you're doing well. Well, here I am outside enjoying the gorgeous weather. We finally got a break from the cold, so I'm very happy about that. Now, I do live in Arlington, Virginia, and it's extremely noisy around here because there's a lot of traffic, a lot of air traffic as well. So you might hear the occasional helicopter or jet, but hopefully you can hear me okay. The other thing that happens around here is that we get a lot of leaf blowers, a lot of landscapers, especially this time of the year. But anyway, guys, I'm outside enjoying the gorgeous weather. I love the sunshine. It puts me in such a great mood. I love it. And I know you didn't come here to get a weather report from me, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking. But I'm very excited today because I'm going to be making that gorgeous snowflake ornament that you saw in the intro. And I'm going to use the beads that came in the Curated Bead box for the month of December. Now, if you're not familiar with that box, I'll leave a link down below to the website so you can go check it out. And I'll also leave a coupon code in case you're interested. And if you don't subscribe to that box, don't worry because I'll leave a list of all the materials down below in the description section of this video. The other thing I like to do is to leave a list of the tools that I'm using as well. So check down below because you'll see all that information down there. And I was a little bit torn about what to make with the contents of that box because there was some necklace memory wire that I wanted to use, but I had been wanting to make my annual snowflake ornament, and that's what I chose to do. A little bit of a warning, guys, I did go off frame a few times, and I don't know why I did that because I'm usually pretty good about that. But I think it was because the snowflake ornament required a lot of long pieces of wire. And whenever I use long pieces of wire, it's really difficult to stay within frame. So anyway, I apologize for that. I know some of you find it a little bit frustrating, but hopefully you can follow along just fine. So anyway, guys, I don't want to keep talking because we have a lot to do today. So without any further ado, let's go ahead, turn the camera around, and we'll get started. And here we have Curated Bead box for the month of December 2023. The name of this box is Treasure Chest, and as you can see, it was filled with very neutral and pleasing colors, with beads of all sizes ranging from 10 millimeters all the way down to 4 millimeters. There were glass pearl beads, crackle beads, jade star beads, and some sparkly Bicone crystals as well. And I've already done an unboxing video. If you haven't seen it, I'll link it down below. So let's go ahead and select the beads for today's project. Here are the beads we're going to be using for today's project. We have lots of variety here. And part of me doesn't really want to go into the details of each one because obviously not everybody subscribes to Curated Bead box, but I will go over them with you. In any case, don't forget to look down below in the description section of this video because I will list all the details of all the beads. But anyway, here we have some glass pearl beads. They measure 10 millimeters in size and the color is Latte. And here we have some crackle beads. They're also 10 millimeters in size and the color is silver. We have these large faceted Bicone crystals. The color is silver luster, and they measure 14 by 8 millimeters. And here we have some square metal spacer beads, and these are actually drilled diagonally. Let me show you what I mean. As you can see, they're not drilled across. They're drilled from point to point, and from point to point, they're about 8 millimeters in size, I believe. At least that's what the listing shows. So if you don't have them or you don't subscribe to Curated Bead box, you're going to want to do a search on the internet. I did a brief search today, and I actually did see them on Etsy. You could always try searching them on the dollarbead.com website as well. They might have some leftovers there. But anyway, if you do a search, you want to search for square metal spacer bead with a Celtic knot, because that's what that design is. And here we have some round metal beads. They measure 8 millimeters in size. We have some more crackle beads up here, and they measure 6 millimeters in size. And the color is champagne. And here we have some glass pearl beads. They measure 6 millimeters in size. And they were part of this mix here. The box came with 2 different kinds of mixes. This mix was in a palette with very warm tones, as you can see. And the color of the mix was cafe au lait. And the other mix was more cool tones, silver tones. And that color was sparkle. But anyway, I got them from this mix. And they're actually not all the same color. 3 of them are more of a taupe color. And the other 3 have a slight purplish tone. But it's very slight and you can barely notice it. And here I have some rondelles. They measure 6 by 4 millimeters. And I got those from the sparkle mix, this one right here. There were actually quite a few of them in there, so hopefully your bag will have just as many. If not, you can substitute by using other rondelles that are 6 millimeters across. 6 by 4 is actually a very common measurement for rondelles. And here we have some metal spacer beads, and they measure 4 millimeters across. So anyway, these are all the beads from the box. And like I said, don't worry too much because you can use pretty much any bead for today's project, and I'll show you how to do that. Let me show you what else we're going to be using. We're going to be using some seed beads, and I have 2 different kinds, as you can see. These are size 8.0 and these are size 11.0. The size 8.0 beads are Miyuki beads, and the color is galvanized gold. And I believe these are Toho, and the color is antique silver. But again, you don't have to use these specific beads. It doesn't matter if they're Miyukis or Tohos. Whatever you use, just make sure they're uniform in size. Don't try to use irregular seed beads because you'll have a little bit of difficulty lining everything up. It's not that you can't use them, it's just that it's much easier to use beads that are more uniform. And just make sure they're exactly size 8/0 and size 11/0. You're going to need a Snowflake Ornament Form, and that's what this is. You can find these on Amazon, and I'm pretty sure you can find them on Etsy as well. They're not that difficult to find. I purchased a whole bunch from Amazon about 2 years ago, and the brand is Darice. And I know they still carry these. If you type in Snowflake Ornament Forms, you should be able to get some results on Amazon. And I believe these measure 6 inches across. The packaging doesn't tell you, but I know they're 6 inches across. And lastly, we're going to be using some craft wire. And this wire is 26 gauge, and it's in a gold color, as you can see. So now that we've gone over the materials, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start by attaching the craft wire to the snowflake form. And here I've cut myself a 36-inch piece. It's quite long, so if you're a beginner, you might have a little bit of difficulty. If that's the case, you might want to cut yourself a shorter piece. But we're actually going to be wrapping the wire around the center, so that's going to take up a bit of the wire. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to place the wire like this. And I'm going to take the long end and I'm going to wrap it around a couple of times. And I'm going to switch to this part. And it really doesn't matter how many times you wrap around, guys. You can wrap as many times as you want to. This part's actually pretty simple. You want to end up with a round, messy wrap, just like that. You do want to check the back to make sure it's neat. So let me just go ahead and wrap it here. I think that's good enough. And I'm going to cut off this end. So I'm going to come in real close. And now using some pliers, I'm going to tuck that little end in. You don't want anything sharp sticking out. And I'm also going to tighten up these wraps a little bit. Let me check this side. That's good enough. So this is what you should have, something like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now what I'm going to do is anchor this piece of wire to this spoke here. I'm going to do a couple of wraps at the base. I'm going to use these nylon pliers to straighten out my wire a little bit. And that's step one. So now we're going to move on to the next step. We're going to be loading some beads on each of these spokes. So let me go get them. And here are the beads we're going to be loading onto the form. And here's my form. I'm going to start by loading beads on this spoke right here. This is the one that I wrapped the wire around. The first bead we're going to load is one of these seed beads. And I'm going to bring it down like this. Now, unfortunately, I can't thread the wire through the bead because the hole isn't big enough, but I'm not going to worry about it too much because it's not going to be that noticeable, actually. The next bead I'm going to thread is one of these, but this time I'm going to slide the wire through it. This is the end of the wire. I'm going to go through the bead like this, slide the bead down, and I'm sorry that I'm going off frame. So there's my seed bead. I'm going to push it down, and now I'm going to slide the spoke through the bead like this. So I have both the wire and the spoke going through the bead, and I'm going to push it down. So that's what you should have. Very simple. Now I'm going to take the wire and move it out of the way. And the next bead's going to be one of these. I'm just going to slide it on like that. And now one of these. These are the 8mm metal beads. And this one's the 10mm. And now one of these glass pearls. These are 10mm as well. So that's what we have so far. And now one of these crackle beads. These are the 6mm crackle beads. Like that. And now one of these metal beads. Let me just find the hole. And that's all there is to it. So now we're going to finish off the end so we don't lose the beads. I'm using these Beadalon memory wire pliers, and I'm going to use the smaller of the two barrels. And this will take a little bit of strength, but I'm simply going to turn the pliers to form a loop. Make sure your loop is closed. So that's what you should have. Now I am going to center it on that bead though. So I'm going to use these pliers to center it. And I do want to make sure it's closed, so let me use these pliers to close it. It's important that it's closed. And that's what you should have. And that's all there is to it, guys. Let me show you again. I'm going to go to the next spoke, and I'm going to move this wire off to the side. And I'm going to load the same beads. So one seed bead, one of these bicones, one of these crackle beads, one of these metal beads, the glass pearl bead, the 6mm crackle bead, and one of these square beads. And honestly, it really doesn't matter what beads you use as long as you fill up the spoke. You do want to leave ½ an inch at the top to do the loop. So if you don't have these beads, guys, just use any bead that you have in your stash. So once again, I'm going to use these pliers. I'm going to grab the end and form a loop. And you could probably use round nose pliers as well. It doesn't have to be this kind of plier. Let me center it. And now let me make sure I close it. These are crimping pliers, by the way. So now that spoke is done, and that's all there is to it. So I'm going to go ahead and load the other 4 off camera, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and as you can see, I've loaded all the beads. And full disclosure, guys, I did run into a little problem. The holes on the Bicone crystals were a little bit too large, and my size 80 seed beads kept wanting to slide inside. So after I told you not to use irregular seed beads, I did go into my stash and find some seed beads that were a little bit irregular, and that's what you're seeing right there. They're supposed to be size 80 seed beads, but I was able to find some that were a little bit larger than size 80. So that's something you might want to consider doing, because like I said, the holes on the crystal bicones were rather large. But anyway, this is what we have so far, and I think it looks really nice so far. And it's okay if the beads are loose, because we're going to be wrapping around each of the spokes, and that's going to take up some of the space, and it'll snug things up. So we're going to go to the next step, and I have my beads here. I have 12 of these metal spacer beads. They're 4mm in size, and I have 6 of the square beads, and these are the silver ones. So I'm going to start by loading one of these spacer beads, and now one of these metal square beads, and another one of the spacer beads. Bring it down. And this is where you get to figure out what kind of beads you need. You just need to have enough beads to span across both of those spokes. And like I keep saying, it doesn't have to be these exact beads. So anyways, you can see these 3 beads fit perfectly. So now I'm going to take the wire and I'm going to wrap it around a couple of times like this. And that's what you should have. So once again, I'm going to load one of these spacer beads, if I can pick it up, and one of these square beads, and another one of these spacer beads. Slide the beads down like that, and wrap it around this spoke here a couple of times. And see how pretty that looks? I think it looks really nice. So let me keep going. As you can see, I have my last 3 beads, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap this wire now around the spoke a couple of times. And if you need to make any adjustments, now's the time to do it. But that's basically what you should have. And you can actually stop right here. You don't have to go any further, and it would look beautiful. So now that we've completed this part, we're going to go ahead and get rid of this wire. And whenever you do that, it's always best to wrap it around a couple more times, just to be on the safe side. So now using flush cutters, I'm going to come in here and snip off the excess. And now I'm going to tuck that little end in to make sure it's not sticking out. So this part's done. I think it looks really nice so far. Like I said, you don't have to keep going. You can just stop right there. But now we're going to move on to the next step. So let me get the beads for that. Here are the beads we're going to need for the next step. These are a little bit smaller, as you can see. These 2 are both 6 millimeters in size. And these rondelles are 6 by 4 millimeters. And here I have my spacer beads. They're 4 millimeters in size. And I have some size 8/0 seed beads. I've cut myself a new piece of wire. And now we need to anchor it to the ornament. I'm going to find a spoke that's kind of loose. Sometimes that happens because these forms aren't perfect. This one looks like it's kind of loose. So I'm going to go ahead and anchor it here. I'm placing the wire on top of this bead like this, and I'm holding onto it with my thumb. And now I'm going to take the end and wrap it around quite a few times. So that should be sufficient. Let me push these beads down. And I'm going to cut off this tail. So I'm going to come in here with my flush cutters real close and snip it off. And you do want to tuck in the little sharp end the best way you can. You definitely don't want anything sharp. So now that I've anchored my wire, I'm going to go ahead and load some beads. I'm going to start with one of these size 8/0 seed beads. And now a spacer bead. And now one of these crackle beads. And now a pearl bead. Another crackle bead. A spacer bead. And a seed bead. Bring it all down. And this is what you should have. So now I'm going to go ahead and wrap this around this spoke a couple of times. And that's all there is to it. Let me show you again. I'm going to load a size 8 seed bead, a spacer bead, a crackle bead, one of my pearls, another crackle bead, and a spacer bead, and a seed bead. Bring it all down. And now I'm going to wrap it around this spoke a couple of times. Make adjustments if you need to. And that's what we have so far. So let me keep going. Okay, I'm at the end, as you can see, and now I just need to wrap this wire around the spoke. Make adjustments if you need to. And doesn't that look beautiful so far? And again, you can stop right here. You don't have to go any further, but we're going to keep going. We actually don't need these spacer beads anymore. But I do need some more seed beads. And I'm going to need some size 11 seed beads as well. So now we're going to do a similar thing that we did in the beginning. We're going to slide through some beads and we're going to skip that seed bead because the wire doesn't fit through it. And I promise you, you won't notice it. So let me go ahead and straighten out my end. It's a lot easier if the end is nice and straight. So anyway, like I said, we're going to skip the seed bead and we're going to go through the spacer bead and the crackle bead. I'm going to go through the spacer bead and the crackle bead. Let me change angles. It might be easier this way. You definitely don't want to go through the pearl bead. And there it is. So now I'm going to pull it through. You do want to be careful that you don't kink your wire, and that's very easy to do when you're doing this kind of work. Let's see if I can pull it through without damaging it. Okay, I managed to get it through, and it wasn't easy, guys, I'm not going to lie to you. But anyway, there it is. So now we're going to anchor it to the left of that pearl bead. I'm going to push it through and go around a couple of times. And I know it's kind of loose, but we're going to add some beads now. I'm going to add a total of 7 seed beads. So that's 4. Let me add another 3. down. Let me just show you what we have so far. And I'm going to take the end and I'm going to skip these 3 seed beads and I'm going to go through the next one down. And I'm going in this way. Just like that. Now you do want to keep your thumb on the seed beads because now we're going to take out all this slack. So I'm going to hold on to these 4 seed beads and pull on the wire. Make sure it's not kinked. And just keep pulling until you take out all the slack. Like that. So now we're going to add another 3 seed beads. So 1, 2, and 3, and bring them down. So there are my 3 seed beads, and now I'm going to anchor it to the right of this glass pearl. I think I'll push it through this time. I think it's easier when you push it through. And I'm going to wrap it around a couple of times. So that's what we have so far. And now we're going to tighten these 3 beads. So I'm just going to grab them and twist them. And again, you can adjust them. I think that should be good enough. You don't want to twist it too much because the wire will break if you twist it too much. But that's what we have so far. I think it looks super cute. So now we're going to continue to load some more beads. Let me straighten out this mess. That's the problem when you do this kind of work. Your beads go all over the place. So now we need to go from this spot here to the top of this glass pearl bead, and we're going to load some seed beads onto that. I'm going to start with a size 11 seed bead, and now maybe 3 of these size 8 seed beads. It could change once I load them. I'm going to see what it looks like before I anchor it. And now one of these rondelles. Another 3 of these seed beads. Size 8 seed beads. And one of these size 11 seed beads. And let's take a look. I think that's a pretty good fit. I don't think I need to add any more beads. So I'm going to go ahead and anchor it right below this crackle bead. And again, I'm wrapping it a couple of times. So that's what we have. Let's do that again. I'm going to start with one of these size 11 seed beads, and then 3 8-0s. And now a rondelle, 3 more 8-0s. One 11-0. Bring it down. So that's what we have so far. And now we need to anchor it to the left of that glass pearl. So let me bring it down and push it through. And wrap it around a couple of times. So that's what we have so far. And now we're going to do the same thing we did here. I'm going to load 7 seed beads. Bring them down. And now I'm going to take my wire and go through the 4th seed bead down. Like that. Hold on to all 4 seed beads and pull the wire, bringing those 3 seed beads down. Just like that. So now I'm going to load 3 size 8/0 seed beads, bring them down, and I'm going to anchor the wire to the right of the glass pearl. So I'm going to push it through and pull it through the other side and wrap it around a couple of times. Make adjustments if you need to. So now I'm going to tighten that up by twisting it. That's good enough. So that's what we have so far. I think it looks really, really nice. And that's all there is to it. It's very repetitive. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing I did here. I'm going to come up to this bead, wrap it around, come back down, and then add the little embellishment to this bead, just like that one. And I don't want to do the entire thing on camera because it would take forever. So if you need to rewind, please do so. But like I said, it's a very repetitive thing. The good news is you only have to do it 6 times. And if you do need to add some more wire, what you would do is just wrap your wire around like I showed you before a couple of times, snip it off, and then attach a new piece by wrapping it around several times, just like we did earlier. So anyway, guys, I don't want to do this on camera because it would take forever and the video would be extremely long. So let me finish it off camera and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm almost done. I just have that one segment to do. So let me go ahead and finish it. So once again, I'm going to take the wire and push it through. Pull it to tighten it up. And I'm going to wrap it to the left of that glass pearl. And I want to do it a couple of times because I want it to be nice and secure. I think that's 3 times. Let me do one more. That should be good enough. And now I just need to snip it off. So I'm going to come in here with my flush cutters. And now let me tuck in that little sharp end. You want to make sure there aren't any sharp ends. That's good enough. And that's it, guys. Isn't it beautiful? Look how pretty that is. It is so gorgeous. I love the way those bicones sparkle. And I like these square beads on the ends. So now what you can do is attach some ribbon to one of these loops. And another thing you might consider is adding some little dangles from each loop. I've done that before as well. But anyway, I'm very happy with this ornament. Like I said, it makes a beautiful gift for somebody. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a tree ornament. You can hang it off your window, or you can hang it from a light fixture. And imagine using sparkly crystals all the way around. It would make a really great sun catcher. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Please leave some comments if you have time. Let me know what you think about this ornament. Let me put this away and I'll come back and say goodbye. Isn't it pretty, guys? It's so beautiful. I love this ornament. I thought it turned out really great. I hope you like it as well, and I hope you can make your own. Thanks so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.